What if Texas, having gained independence in 1836, had never joined the United States in 1845, but remained a separate player on the world stage? Imagine, instead of becoming one of the states, Texas turns into a lone star, not only on the flag, but also in geopolitics, with its own army, currency, and of course, a Texas accent in diplomacy. And Sam Houston, the first president of the Republic of Texas, instead of negotiating accession, writes a letter to the American president. "Thank you, but we are on our own." This topic is fascinating because Texas has always been special, with its love of freedom, cowboy traditions, and a size that makes even its neighbors jealous. In real history, Texas became part of the United States. But how did it go its own way? Would we be eating Texas barbecue in every corner of the planet? Or would Texas have become an oil empire that dictates fashion for hats and boots? And would Hollywood have stayed in California or moved to Austin to shoot westerns on the spot? What follows is a story full of surprises, ironic moments, and reflections on how one small change could redraw the map of the world. So pour yourself a coffee, or maybe Texas tea, and let's imagine what would have happened if Texas had remained independent. Let's go back to 1836, when Texas gained its independence from Mexico after the Battle of San Jacinto. Sam Houston, the first president of the Republic of Texas, decides, "We're too big to be anyone's state." In real history, Texas joined the United States 9 years later, but in our alternate reality, Houston and his successors choose a different path. They reject annexation, instead making treaties with European powers to guarantee their independence. Imagine a British ambassador arriving in Austin and saying, "We recognize your independence, but what is this strange meat sauce? Give me the recipe." The early years for the Republic of Texas are difficult. The economy is supported by cotton, but debts are mounting, and Mexico still dreams of regaining lost territory. However, Texas finds an unexpected ally in Great Britain, which wants to weaken the United States and sees Texas as a profitable partner. The British provided loans and helped build a navy to protect the coast from Mexico. By the 1850s, Texas was an important trading center, with cotton going to Europe and technology and investment coming back. Imagine a Texas farmer writing to his relatives in Virginia, "We have a railroad here, and you still ride horses?" In the 1860s, when the American Civil War broke out, Texas was left on the sidelines. Without Texas in the Union, the Confederacy lost a significant portion of its resources, and the war ended more quickly, but with different consequences. Texas, which in real history supported the Confederacy, acted as a neutral mediator. Abraham Lincoln, trying to attract Texan support, sent a delegation to Austin, but the Texan president replied, "You take your disputes and we'll go look for oil. By the way, do you have barbecues in Washington?" In 1901, when the Spindletop Field was discovered in Texas, the country received an economic boost that transformed it into an oil nation. By the end of the 19th century, Texas had become an oil empire. Thanks to its mineral wealth, the country invested in infrastructure, education, and the military. Austin became a glittering capital with wide boulevards and buildings in the Texas Baroque style. Imagine the capital, but with a giant bull statue on the roof. Texas developed its own culture. Cowboy traditions became a national symbol, and country music sounded on every corner. In the 1920s, Texas began to export not only oil, but also culture. Westerns became popular in Europe, and Texas hats were worn even in Paris. Imagine a Frenchman trying to dance to country music and complaining, "Those Texans, they're everywhere." Texas occupies a unique position on the international stage. In the 20th century, the country became a mediator between the United States and Mexico, avoiding major conflicts. During World Wars I and II, Texas remained neutral, but sold oil to both sides, which made it fabulously wealthy. In the 1950s, Texas invested in technology. Austin became a center of innovation, and Dallas, a financial capital. Imagine a Texas engineer bragging, "We launched a satellite before the Americans," and it says, "Don't touch Texas." How does this affect the United States? Without Texas, the United States loses a significant part of its territory, resources, and cultural influence. California and Louisiana become major economic centers, but the United States does not reach the level of power that it has in real history. Hollywood remains in California, but westerns are shot in Texas because no one can play a cowboy better than us. so say the Texas directors. Mexico, in turn, avoids war with Texas thanks to diplomatic agreements, but constantly complains. Those Texans took our oil, and all they left us was cacti. In the 21st century, Texas is a prosperous country with a population of 40 million, a powerful economy, and a culture that influences the whole world. Austin is becoming a technology hub, rivaling Silicon Valley in Texas cuisine. Barbecue, tacos, and chili is becoming a global trend. Texas has its own space program. In 2020, they will launch a rocket with the slogan, "Texas to the Stars." Imagine an astronaut in a cowboy hat going into orbit and saying, "Houston, we have no problem." Texas cultural influence reaches new heights. In 2025, Texas country music receives the status of cultural heritage by the United Nations, and Texas barbecue festivals become a tourist mecca. The first Texas house opens in Tokyo, where Japanese people learn to cook ribs and dance to the sounds of the banjo. Imagine a Japanese chef trying to add wasabi to a Texas sauce and mumbling, "These Texans, they know how to make meat perfect." Texas westerns become so popular that even Bollywood is making its own version, with cowboys singing in Sanskrit. Relations with neighbors are also evolving. The United States and Texas sign a Treaty of Friendship and Barbecue, which involves an annual exchange of technology and recipes. Mexico, finally resigned to the loss of oil, becomes the main importer of Texas tacos, but adds more chili peppers to them. Imagine a Mexican diplomat coming to Austin and joking, "You stole our oil, but we stole your appetite." Texas, with its ability to balance its neighbors, becomes an example of how a small country can influence global politics without losing its uniqueness. The political landscape of the world is also changing. Without Texas as part of the United States, American politics becomes less conservative. George W. Bush, a native of Texas, in this reality becomes the president of Texas, not the United States. Texas, with its oil economy, becomes a key player in OPEC, dictating oil prices. Imagine a Texas president coming to an OPEC summit wearing boots and a hat and joking, "You may have the oil, but we have the sauce to go with it." So what do we have in a world where Texas remains an independent country? A lone star shines for all to see. Austin is the tech capital, Dallas is the financial center, and Texas barbecue is eaten from Paris to Tokyo. Texas is an oil empire that launched its own rocket into space, and their cowboy hats have become a symbol of freedom. The United States, without Texas, remains a powerful power, but no longer so dominant, and Mexico still grumbles about stolen oil. Imagine, instead of the American flag, the Texas flag flies at summits, and instead of the U.S. anthem, Texas country music sounds. This story makes you think, how could one refusal to annexation change everything? In reality, Texas became part of the United States. But what if Sam Houston had said no? Would we live in a world where the Texas accent was the official language of diplomacy and barbecue was the currency? The irony is that Americans were so proud of their manifest destiny, but in our history, Texas simply said, "Destiny? Thanks, we'll write it ourselves." And George W. Bush would probably still be bragging, "I'm the first Texan president to launch a rocket." This alternate history reminds us that our world hangs on thin threads of decisions. Maybe we should thank Texas for at least becoming part of a larger story in reality. If you enjoyed imagining this world with Texas rockets and barbecue on every corner, give it a like. It's like saying thank you to Sam Houston for his courage. Subscribe so you don't miss new stories about how history could be reversed. Write in the comments what you would add to this Texas world. Maybe a Texas Disneyland with cowboys? Let's figure out how history could be reversed together. See you in the next story.